Hello, welcome to the School of Art and Design Incoming Freshman and Transfer Student Orientation. My name is David Phobes and I will be your advisor through the summer until August 19th. After August 19th, my colleague Mark Saprut will take over for advising. Please watch your emails and you will receive an update on when advising hours will take place. For the summer, we're not doing any in-person advising other than there will be for each cohort, incoming transfer students and incoming freshmen, there will be two uh, advising open hours, and you will receive from PSFA the dates of those. And I will be available to answer any of your questions. Uh, if you have other questions, please send an email to the art.advising email address, and please include your red ID with any correspondence. Okay, so this is going to be a quick orientation on how to, not only strategies for registering for courses, but also a strategy on staying on top of your degree planning throughout the next few years of your studies here. So the first part of this video is going to be general to all incoming students in all emphasis areas. And then the second part will be more specific to either incoming freshmen or incoming transfer students. There are 6 items I'd like to share with you in this video, and I'm going to show you how they're all going to work together to help you be a little bit more successful, both in strategies of enrolling in classes, taking classes, and planning your course career here.
Okay, so I'm going to take you to the Blackboard site, and I have Blackboard bookmarked, but it's just blackboard.sdsu.edu. When you get to the Blackboard site, you'll see any of the courses that you're enrolled in. Being an advisor, this is all I'm enrolled in. But what you should see probably at the top of your page is the Art Advising Homeroom. So if you select that, if you're not enrolled, if you don't see it, send us an email at the Art Advising email and send your red ID, and we'll enroll you in this homeroom. Okay, so if you click on it, it'll take you to the homeroom. And there's a lot of information here, but what I'm going to focus on are the new student tab. The Zoom tab is the tab that would take you to the advising hours during the advising meeting that I told you that we're going to have available. But you should also have that link in your orientation package. So click on New Students. There's several things here. What I'm going to focus on is the tips for getting started. Okay, so the first thing I would suggest you do is look at the general catalog to be familiar with your graduation requirements. All right, so if you go down to individual departments, go to art, and that'll take you right to our department, and you can read about the various requirements and the requirements for the different emphasis areas. And then here's all the descriptions of the courses, and you can read about it, and then also the prerequisites for the courses. All right, so that's that. Your degree evaluation, or sometimes called degree audit. Now this is very important, and you should all be familiar with how to use this. I have a link right here that was produced by the university on how to understand your degree evaluation. I'm not going to go through that. I'm going to let you do that. But this is where you can access. So it's accessed through your web portal. So if you sign on to the web portal and just use your SDSU student ID and the password that you've been using. And then you're going to see a slightly different drop-down menu, but one of the things you will see is something called the degree evaluation. So if you click on this, it's going to take you to a prompt that will walk you through getting to your degree evaluation. I'm not going to do that. They'll show you on the tutorial, but that's where you access that. Uh, the other thing would be the SDSU My Map, and this is really good for sort of mapping out your course of study. You select your catalog year, not the year that you necessarily started, but most of you, your catalog year is going to be 2020. Select your major, and so let's select interior architecture and you submit. So this is sort of the plan that you should be following, especially if you're a freshman. Um, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in the specifically freshman context. Um, but look at this, review it. It's a little bit trickier when you're a transfer student, but generally you should be looking at your third year, third and fourth year, and that's the map you should be following. So every um, every major, every art major has an academic MyMap plan. So that's where you access that. Okay, and there's a little blurb about how you should think about planning your classes, all right? All of you should have received an art area emphasis checklist that's specific to your area. If you select this, it's a PDF and it has all of the area checklists if you want to know what every area has, but you can also get to your own. The freshmen should have also received the freshman orientation art checklist. I'll go over that with the freshman orientation. Um, and then the new student registration guide. So they probably went over this in your new student orientation, but there's a link to it, and then you just walk through this and it kind of gives you a guide on how to go through the registration process. Whoops, got one more. And then the last thing is the SDSU course class schedule. So if you click on this, um, it it may take, I've got it, I was just in it, so it took me to fall 2020. You might have to, it might take you to the summer, you have to update it. But here's your class schedule. One of the things I wanted to point out is that anything that says online means that class is going to be online. But what's important is that it meets online at the time and date scheduled. So for example, drawing one with Professor Hewitt uh, meets online between 9 and 11:40 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You should probably be receiving information from your professors about a week before classes start, and they'll talk to you about how you're going to access the class, send you the Zoom links, and that. Um, if you look at the classes that have a room number, that means that class will be meeting face to face at the university. So, um, and they will be meeting at these times. There's not very many. There's about 20 classes. Most of them are upper division classes. Um, but the most important thing to realize is that whether it's online or face-to-face, there are specific meeting times. And when you start registering for classes, you can't overlap meeting times, even if they're online. The registration won't allow you to do that. Okay. All right. So that's just really briefly about the new student information. Um, I will now break off, and the video will become either specific to freshmen or transfer students. Okay, welcome freshmen. So I've got a little bit of information that's specific to you. Um, you should have received this PDF, which is the orientation for all freshmen. Um, so you can read through these requirements. But one of the things that I wanted to point out is that these courses 100, 101, 104, it should also say or 102, 103, 250, and 259 um, can be taken in any order. So if you go to register for classes and let's say 100 or 101 are not open, you could choose 103, you could choose 104, 258, 259. The map is a suggestion, but it's not required to be in that order. The other thing that's very important is that these 6 classes have to be completed for you to have what is called major standing. And that is very important if you're an interior architecture major or an interior or a graphic design major. Uh, you will not be able to get into most of your upper division courses until you've completed all of these. If you're in another emphasis area, that's not required for now. But if you haven't completed these, and let's say you're in graphic design and you try and sign up for an upper division graphic design class, you'll be blocked from taking that course. So, you know, try and get all of these done in your uh, first 4 semesters, so you would have upper division status by the time you were a junior. One thing I'd also like to point out is that there are preparation for the major requirements 3 to 6 units of art electives. So let's go back to graphic design. Um, These are the, you'll see in the different emphasis areas, they may recommend a specific course. So you could take any 3 units that you wanted to, but they recommend Art 240, which is Introduction to Digital Media, which will be very helpful when you start taking the upper division graphic design classes. You also need 3 units selected from, and this would be 216 is uh, Introduction to Sculpture, 220 is Design and Crafts, 223 is Beginning Woodworking, 226 is Beginning Ceramics, and 231 is Beginning Metals. Um, all emphasis areas are going to be required to take one course from the sequence of the craft classes. Um, if you look online right now, 223, 226, and 231, I believe, are going to be offered uh, in person, but 216 will be offered online. One of the things I wanted to point out is that these courses, we recommend you take them in the first 2 years, but that's not going to hold you back from your upper division status. So if you start getting hung up in trying to get these classes, don't worry about that. Um, that's not going to affect your upper division status. So if you're a graphic design major and you haven't finished these, but you've finished 100, 101, 103, 102, or 104, 258 and 259, you have major status. If you're in graphic design, you also have to have 241 and 242 before you can take the uh, upper division type 1 and upper division, I'm sorry, upper division type 2 and upper division graphic design 2. But just be aware that these are graduation requirements, but they're not requirements. These 6 units of electives are not requirements that would get in the way of your major standing. All right. So I'm not going to go through every checklist, um, uh, but these are just some strategies for you as freshmen. Um, again, uh, you may have problems because of the early registration for the rest of the university. You may have problems getting some of your classes in the fall. Not to worry, you're going to have great registration time. You'll have priority for the spring. So, another strategy is, if you can't get all of your art classes that you want, um, you know, work on your GE courses. Um, I know that was rather quick, but again, if you have any questions, go ahead and email us at art.advising, and we will get back to you usually within about 24 hours. Okay, I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a successful semester coming up at San Diego State. Again, welcome to the art department. We're glad that you chose San Diego State to be your university.